Hey guys, welcome back. Well, this is a video response to Campfire Talk. I was one of 5 guys that he tagged on his last video as a video response to Adventure Canine, 5 things every prepper should have. And I think that's a great concept, and I'm actually quite honored and humbled that Campfire Talk tagged me, because it is a topic of interest that I take to the heart. The 5 things that I want to talk about are going to be a little bit different than what you might expect. I think a lot of topics have been pretty well covered either in books, on the internet, or YouTube, and all you have to do is go out there and look. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're someone who is like-minded and have an interest in self-reliance and preparedness. Now, I'm not going to talk about tactical nylon, black guns or pistols, or fancy knives, or high-speed flashlights. Nothing fancy here at all. I want to talk about more practical, some might even think more mundane topics that I think are going to be very important and foundational in any type of preparedness or self-reliance effort that you might undergo. Well, I'm a firm believer that knowledge is power, and the 5 things I'm going to recommend are centered around that as a central theme. All right, what are my 5 things that I think every prepper should have? Number 1, again, a central theme, and I think touched on by Campfire Talk, and that is plan. I think you need to have a prepping plan. Now, I think you need to plan for consistent stocking of preparedness supplies. This is not something you can jump in and do over the course of a weekend or a week or a month. It's something that you need to be working at a little bit every week, every month, and by the end of a year, you'll look back and see a very well stocked and prepared toolbox, if you will, of items to help you and your family in case of need. I think you also need to have family contingency planning. Now, I live in the Pacific Northwest. We have a family of 4, my wife and 2 kids, teenagers. One of them is driving. Both of them are in high school. One's on her way to college this fall. So what happens if there is a natural disaster in our area? That could be ice, snow, earthquake, and we're typically probably not going to all be together at home. What do we do to tie back up? So we've talked about a plan. How do we communicate? What do we do if communication is not working? How do we get back together as a family unit? Now, I'm referring to my notes here because I've got a number of points I want to make sure I cover. I also think you need to have a comms plan. So in that plan, I think you need to address your family. You need to have a family communications plan. What happens if cell phones don't work? We all rely on cell phones, but if cell phones don't work, what are your alternative means of communications? Perhaps your family likes to use FRS or GMRS or MURS, MURS radios. If there's a disaster in your area, chances are those radios are going to be very difficult to use because the frequencies will be full. So you should have a frequency, a backup frequency, and an alternative backup frequency. I think you also need to have an AM/FM radio, either a self-crank powered radio, or make sure you have backup batteries so that you can listen to the National Weather Service and listen to the local news stations so you can keep up to date with what's happening in your area. So I think staying in touch and knowing what's happening is critical if you're going to be successful in managing a disaster event. I think you also need to have a network comm plan, and I'll talk about a network in a minute, but you need to have a way of communicating with your support network. I think you also need to practice your communication plan. If you're going to use FRS radios, it would be good to make sure everybody knows how to use them, knows how to make sure they're on frequency, knows how to make sure they're on the same privacy code, and practice knowing when you want to communicate with each other. So if there's a natural disaster and you want to be getting in touch with your family, if you decided to use FRS radio, make sure that the parents are monitoring that frequency. When the kids are in range, you're listening, and if you need to move to a backup frequency, you already know what that backup frequency is. I think along those same lines, you need to have a frequency list. So I think at home, in your cars, the bag that you carry your radio in your car, you should have a list of the frequencies that you're going to use, and also frequencies that you want to tune to if you want to listen to what's happening in your area. That would include law enforcement, EMS, fire, ambulance service. I think it's good to just know what's happening in your area. Local news station, National Weather Service. And if you're into amateur radio or ham radio, know what the repeaters are in your area, know which repeaters have backup power supply, either wind, solar, or generator, and practice getting on frequency, making sure you have all the right settings to use that repeater. And if you have friends that are amateur radio operators in your area, make sure you have a plan so that you know what simplex frequencies you're going to use if repeaters go down. So again, very heavy in comms, but I think knowledge is power and being able to communicate is power. And if you're blinded by not knowing what's going on or ability to communicate with your family, that's going to increase your anxiety level and just interfere with you being successful in managing a disaster. Now, I think you need to develop a trusted support network. No matter what your contingency planning is, you cannot do it by yourself. So you need to take into account a trusted support network. Make sure that you know who you can trust, who you can work with in your neighborhood, so that you can have a cohesive community that is going to manage a disaster well. If you're in an area where there's flooding, tornado, hurricane, ice, snowstorm, whatever, you want to be able to come together as a community and manage that event so that you are all successful in surviving. So along those lines, again, you cannot do it by yourself, and you need to have a group of people that you trust. If you're listening to someone who is talking about managing this stuff by themselves and going off into the mountains and hunkering down, that's someone that I personally would stay away from, because I think that that is a false plan that is destined to fail. Along the lines of knowledge is power, I think you also need to have a reference archive. That would include a good library at your home. You need to have books on cooking, canning, food preservation, medical information, homesteading, and practical skills. I'd also recommend you have some sort of text backup besides books on PDF documents that you have archived in CDs or DVDs. Just in case the internet goes down, I'd also recommend that you have text backup PDF documents that you have archived on CDs or DVDs. Now, I think your reference archive should also include video resources. Perhaps important videos that you have pulled off the internet and have archived on DVDs. There are also a number of prepared DVDs commercially available. This one was sent to me by a fellow YouTuber and amateur radio operator in Texas, Gary. And this is my formal thank you, Gary, in '73. This DVD, Know What to Do, Think, Prepare, Act. These can be valuable resources for you and your family as you prepare for natural disasters or any event where you and your family have to exercise your preparedness plan. Okay, the fifth item is a medical plan. Now, many of you know I'm an emergency physician, and my channel is full of videos related to medical preparedness. Along those lines, I think you need to put back some supplies so you can take care of your family, as well as putting back some supplies so that you can supplement the care of your trusted support network. Perhaps you're the medical sheepdog in the group, and you're the one that's going to be called upon to take care of any medical event that happens. I think it's very important that if that's the case, that you're looking ahead and thinking, what do I need to put aside to take care of my family and the community that I'm supporting? I think you need to have basic and advanced first aid supplies, and you need to also put back some hygiene supplies. All right, well, that's it. I've got a lot of stuff out here in front that I will pan the camera around at this point, and these are mainly items to give you some inspiration and some thought what you need to do for yourself. And there's some items here that just kind of represent the topics I've talked about. So to summarize, the 5 things that I think every prepper should have: a prepping plan, a communication plan, a trusted support network, a reference archive, and a medical plan. Perhaps FRS radio, amateur radio, and for sure cell phone. Don't forget, write down your frequencies and make sure everybody knows what the frequencies are in your comm plan. Okay, books. These are just some examples to help give you some inspiration. Medical books, certainly one of the best books available is going to be Where There Is No Doctor, and the companion, Where There Is No Dentist. The Ranger Medic Handbook is also a good reference, as well as some books on practical skills, making of tools, recycling, use, and repair of tools, and organic gardening. I'd add to this books on canning, cooking, and food preservation. Okay, communications. Very important to have some sort of shortwave radio that picks up AM, FM. Make sure you be able to pick up the weather station. A scanner is a great idea. This is a comms kit that was sent to me by Cody from Wrangler Star, and I'll reference the video on that. But that's one for each car and one at each home. There are 2 FRS radios in there, charger, batteries, and a shortwave radio and extra batteries. And then if you're an amateur radio operator, right there is my 2-meter Go kit that also has a scanner. Down below you can see the tubes where I carry my extra antennas, and I'll be doing more on a video on that later. Okay, this small shortwave radio kit I have featured in a prior video. I have a future video planned on utilization of this antenna system, as well as how to make your own field expedient antenna for shortwave radio. Last but not least is a good group first aid kit, and of course an individual first aid kit. Okay, well, it's starting to snow here in the Portland area, and granted, for a lot of you guys, perhaps in Canada or other places, might not look like a lot of snow. The weather prediction for us is possibly 7 inches down into the valley floor, which would be, of course, more where we are right now, perhaps 8 or 10 inches. Nothing may happen. But either way, there's a severe weather warning right now for the Portland area. I think that's timely for this video because I am not stressed or worried that I have to go out and get supplies or materials. My family is comfortable and safe. We have gas in all of our cars. All the tanks are full. We have extra gas here at the house. And we have food, water, lighting. We have an ability to keep ourselves warm should the power go out. We have ability to communicate. We have a family plan. We have medical supplies. So either way, we're comfortable, we'll be safe. We don't have to run around and prepare at the last moment. So prepare now to be prepared, and remember, this is something you work on slowly over time to develop a cohesive, safe preparedness plan for you and your family. And of course, don't forget your trusted support network. You can't do this by yourself. Okay, last but not least, what are the 5 channels that I'm going to tag? Well, I thought long and hard about this, and I ultimately decided on 5 channels that I follow on a fairly regular basis that I look to for inspiration and guidance in my own extended and continued preparedness. I'm mentioning these 5 channels as a cohesive block because they're involved in the Sensible Prepper Conference being held the 2nd of April 2011 in Greensville, South Carolina. Now these guys have very active channels, and I know they're very busy getting prepared for the conference, and it's very likely they won't respond to this tag. But I want to draw your attention to these channels. If you don't subscribe to these channels or you're not aware of them, I encourage you to check them out and subscribe because I think you'll find a lot of very useful information. The channels are Suits Double Aught, Southern Prepper 1, Engineer 775, East Coast Patriot, and Modern Survival Online. Now, if you live anywhere near Greensville, South Carolina, or you're in that area around the 2nd of April 2011, I encourage you to attend the conference. You can get conference information by sending Suits Double Aught a PM, or I think you can also send him a message on his Facebook page. I know for sure that if I was in that area, I would be attending the conference. However, I'm here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm hoping they make a lot of good videos so I can follow them online. All right, guys. Thanks for following my channel. I appreciate all the support and interest. And I want to encourage you, prepare now to be prepared. I am having trouble talking today. I am having trouble speaking today. These videos are hard to do. All right, we'll try it again. I am having trouble talking without a teleprompter.